So a lot of people sent me this segment on Talk TV to talk about, hosted by Kevin O'Sullivan. It's disappeared down a woke rabbit hole. TV critic blasts Doctor Who. 69,000 views, nice. Hosted by Kevin O'Sullivan. A lot of people sent me this. I don't know why. Apparently, maybe Kevin's gone off the deep end again. So you folks wanted me to talk about it and react to it. So let's take a look.
So we're going to talk about Doctor Who. There's a new Doctor Who, Ncuti Gatwa.
Ncuti Gatwa. It has to be deliberate at this point, right? Like, he's been basically one of the biggest names in this entire country in terms of media entertainment for the past, 3 or 4 years. And you can't even be bothered to, pretend to pronounce his name correctly. Ncuti Gatwa. That it has to be deliberate. You're from, what purports to be a professional broadcast outlet, and you don't have, phonetic pronunciation in your teleprompter or in your notes. Ncuti Gatwa. Crying out loud.
And a new series beckons, but it hasn't been on since Christmas, but quietly under the radar, the BBC slipped 2 episodes onto the iPlayer last Friday, and some critics have said, oh, it's no longer woke, it's finally realised it should be family entertainment, because it has disappeared down a woke rabbit hole for way too long. It's just a gender fluid identity politics nightmare, but they say now...
What on earth is the specifics of that though? The gender politics it's just there was a woman doctor for a couple of years. That's the beginning and end of Kevin's assessment there. Oh, there was a woman on TV in this TV show for 4 years. Now it's a gender fluid nightmare. Come on, women can be on TV, Kevin, crying out loud.
It's got back to family values. Let's find out whether that's true.
Family values, isn't that a Christian dog whistle? Family values. The Doctor as a character, isn't even a nuclear family archetype. He's a time traveler alien who goes around time and space with random companions, of different genders and species, and he even has a robot dog at one point. How is it a family values thing? What a weird way to lay out this argument. Family values? Is Kevin even Christian?
Let's talk to the Sun's great TV critic, Ali Ross. Hey, Ali.
Hey, Kevin. I've missed you. Where have you been?
Yeah, well, you too. We must talk.
Don't leave me like this again.
I won't, mate. I won't.
Okay, 1 second. Ali Ross from The Sun. Let's have a look. Ali Ross, critic. Sun's TV critic Ali Ross. Let's go over their articles from The Sun recently. Ollie will blame Eurovision snub on bigotry rather than his inability to sing. If Phil kept Piehole shut, he would have won Apprentice. Only a fool could have lost. The double standards of terminally woke shows like Football Focus. Last Leg's Adam Hill's backtracking over Kate was cringeworthy. So yeah, this guy just makes a career of just complete culture war fiction, right? Oh god, they really are sending their best, aren't they? They really do send their most articulate and their best, most well-spoken free thinkers.
I want you on this show as much as humanly possible, but we'll talk. Thank you for coming on tonight. Now, before we embark on this no doubt enlightening conversation, let's remind ourselves of what Doctor Who has become. Take it away,
Football Focus is terminally woke because Gary Lineker maybe. No, didn't we see the didn't we see? No, it wasn't Gary Lineker. You can see from the heading here, it's Black Woman. That's what this means by terminally woke shows. He means a woman of colour is on TV for a little bit every week. That will be the beginning and the end of Ali Ross's standard here. What we're finding with the culture war right now is that the euphemisms have completely gone. The euphemisms have just completely left the building here. It is just now all they've got is just black people shouldn't be on TV, women shouldn't be in the industry, queer people should be whatever, out of sight, out of mind or whatever. That's just what this is. That's basically it.
Doc?
Henry, get away from him. Them.
Copyright.
Me. What? I'm them. You're who? You're who? Nice to see you again.
Copyright clip.
Yeah, you have to. That's something to do with the pronoun they instead of she or he.
It kind of shows just the weakness of their position, as in Talk TV's conservative position. That they there's only one instance of they them pronouns from Maestro in the Devil's Court. It happens literally once, and it was in that scene that they showed, and they're going about, oh, the constant, it's just all this constant, it's all bombardment of will, and they just play like the one time it happens. The one time in the episode that it happens is the only clip that they've got, and that's so funny. It just shows the weakness of the position.
Or whatever he's supposed to be. That's Doctor Who.
Here's the thing, chat. You're at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, okay? You're looking out into the sea, and you see this Lovecraftian monstrosity looking at you, okay? Is your first thought, what's its gender? No, because it's a Lovecraftian Cthulhu god. Like Maestro is the living embodiment of music. So of course it doesn't really care about a gender binary. So of course it would go by they, them, because it's an entity. So this is completely fine. Come on, try harder, Kevin.
Not for quite a number of years. Have you seen these new episodes?
I have.
And is
So Talk TV can get through a clip of a show without getting copyrighted, and you get striked after 5 seconds of a clip. Yes, this is absolutely a double standard from the BBC. If you're a conservative or a reactionary who wants to play the 20-second clip from the Star Beast of the male presenting Time Lord just let it go line, you can do that just fine. But if you're a Doctor Who reviewer like myself, or Council of Geeks, or Harbo Hooms, or Crispy Pro, if you play more than 5 seconds of muted, edited audio of Doctor Who, the ban hammer comes down.
your rival in the Daily Mail, Christopher Stevens, right when he says it's a triumphant return to family entertainment because other viewers seem to take an opposing view? What do you think?
Yeah, not wishing to cast aspersions on a commercial rival, but no, he's not right. It's not quite as horrendously woke as some episodes, which I think you can stretch this back to 2018 when Chris Chibnall wrote an episode called Rosa, which was about Rosa Parks, and people said, "Isn't this great?" Bringing up historic racism and the bus thing in Alabama. And I think that they kind of like the feeling because they're basically like all the dressing up box community.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack here. Firstly, Ali is completely erasing Mallory Blackman, who is like the co-writer of Rosa, a black woman who worked on the Noughts and Crosses books and the TV series. Basically, he's erased her contributions to an episode about Rosa Parks, which I don't think is an accidental thing to do. I think that Ali Ross is like, yes, let's just completely omit a black woman's contributions when talking about a racial historical story like Rosa in 2018. Let's just attribute this to Chris Chibnall solely because the audience don't know any better. They don't know. They're not going to check. They don't know who a Mallory Blackman is. But also, Doctor Who has done historical figures before, like Churchill, Shakespeare, Charles Dickens, the French Revolution, Robespierre in the 1960s. Like, what's the issue here? Like, genuinely, what's the issue here? Will he name what the issue is?
Is basically like all the dressing up box community. They wish they weren't just a bunch of Ponzi actors. They wish they were revolutionaries and social justice warriors. So it gave them a good feeling. It got progressively worse and worse.
So what's the difference between what they're doing with Doctor Who and what you're doing as the Sun's critic who is talking about and complaining about black women being on Football Focus because you want to pretend you're an act? What's the difference here? This is like massive hypocrisy.
Under Chris Chibnall. To the point
Why is he laughing at Rosa Parks? Because he hates black women. We've already been through this.
I found it unwatchable. So the idea was that Russell T Davies would come back in last year and drag it back to storylines, but so far...
Yes, Russell T Davies, who famously has never put political agendas or social commentary in his stories. No, nothing to be seen here. Forget the long game. Forget Turn Left, forget Planet of the Ood, forget all of these socially charged stories. No, nothing to see here, folks, of course.
That hasn't happened.
Yeah.
We had a Christmas one, which was another lecture about non-binary and pronouns. And then it started...
Sorry, is he talking about the church on Ruby Road?
Which was another lecture about last year. And drag it back to storylines, but so far that hasn't happened.
Yeah.
We had a Christmas one, which was another lecture about non-binary and pronouns. And then it started on Saturday with
What? Chat, please refresh my memory. I'm operating on like 2.5 hours of sleep here. Please let me know what about non-binary pronouns was there in the church on Ruby Road. It was a Christmas fairy tale story about babies being swiped by the Goblin King to be eaten on baby scones with baby butter and baby bones. You know, like what is the what a trans woman? But that they're not non-binary. They're a trans woman. Like what? He's just made this shit up. He's just making shit up about the episode. Here's the thing. We know from this as well, and also Kevin O'Sullivan, that they absolutely detest the people who are watching this right now as part of their audience. They absolutely despise the average Talk TV viewer, because that's the only way that they would feel comfortable so openly and flagrantly just lying to them constantly all the time. They are doing what is essentially the broadcast equivalent of the Nigerian Prince scam, where the Nigerian Prince emails that you get sent are deliberately full of typos and misinformation and weird, strange sentences and grammatical errors and stuff, because they are self-selecting for people who are too illiterate or too poorly educated to spot those red flags to go along with the con, to go along with the scam. And what Ali and Kevin are doing here is that they are just deliberately lying to their audience to pick those marks in the same way. Honestly, Kevin and Ali here could genuinely, and I say this without a single word of exaggeration or jokiness, like there's not a joke in my body when I say this, they could honestly turn to the camera now and say, I hated the scene in the last episode where them Maestro turned to the camera and said, I think that there should be a two-state solution in Palestine and Gaza, and honestly, they would say that, and the audience, their marks, wouldn't fucking check. They would just believe it. They would just they'd just go along with it because of this constant victim mentality. What is he, to the point where you can just make shit up about the Christmas special that, like I said, around 8 million people watched over the festive period. So those people can just watch this and know that Ali Ross is just lying through his teeth here.
Episode called Space Babies, which were a group of space babies who were marooned up on the other side of the galaxy because of health service cuts. And the fact, yeah.
Bloody NHS again, eh?
Yeah, and so they were technically classed as refugees, so they weren't allowed back into the planet where they actually came. It was just...
So this is actually an accurate retelling of the Space Babies plot, which further emphasizes why on earth did he lie about the Christmas special.
You could hear the gears crunching.
Yeah.
That we must raise this issue, we must raise that issue. And if you do that, fine, but you've got to have a storyline, and they just didn't really. It wasn't great drama, but...
Obviously, fair enough if Ali didn't like the Space Babies episode, but those were like throwaway lines and little details. The main plot of the story was like the bogeyman in the basement and like the fiction that the computer was giving to the babies as a way to like progress their development and their education. There was a story in Space Babies, like, and the abortion metaphor, the healthcare metaphor, that was like all very much like background details. That was very much like bare minimum window dressing.
As far as a bloke in a dress playing the piano goes, it's a great curtain raiser for Eurovision, which came straight after.
Yeah. What did you make? Oh, actually, let's talk. Well, I'll ask you about Eurovision in just a little while. But Russell T Davies, the man who was given the reins back, because of course he was one of the sort of pioneers, I suppose, of the modern Doctor Who. So they've given it back to him. Because amid criticisms that it's disappeared into a sort of gender ID rabbit hole, woke rabbit hole. I mean, he's not exactly
like what. Like he keeps on going back to the gender ID and the gender fluid. Like that. Like Kevin is just fucking furious that a woman was on his TV screens for a few years. Is this all he's got? Like, this is just the line that he defaults back to at every single opportunity. Does he have, like, no other specifics? Has he got nothing else going on in that brain of his?
Exactly unwoke himself, Russell T Davies.
Far from it, no. The first glimpse we got...
you're only just figuring this out now. Like, the guy who wrote Queer as Folk, the guy who wrote It's a Sin, Years and Years, Cucumber, An English Scandal, Doctor Who, you're only just figuring this out.
Of the new Russell T Davies Doctor Who was, I think it was a Children in Need sketch involving Davros, the creator of the Daleks, and suddenly, instead of being this seated monster and this sort of half Dalek.
We've been over this before. It's just the exact same talking points. They just like cribbing from the same notes as each other, like, because it's just the same artificial talking points.
He was just running around like Norman Wisdom. He was just an old guy in a black suit. Russell T Davies' explanation being that it would stereotype disabled people if Davros was seated, and this was in fact a wheelchair, not a Dalek costume.
What a betrayal! What a betrayal!
Okay, firstly, Kevin can't even like muster up the enthusiasm to pretend to be indignant about that change. He doesn't care about disabled people, whatever. He'd rather they just die. But also, like, once again, we've been over this 1,000 times before. The Children Needs special was a prequel. We've seen Davros out of his chair in audio dramas, in comic books, and also on TV proper in Series 9, in The Magician's Apprentice and The Witch's Familiar. We saw Bubby Chow Davros able-bodied and young and absolutely fine. Like, once again, it's the exact same talking points. They have to know at this point that it's just a lie. But once again, like, Kevin's just, what a disgrace, what a betrayal. Like, he obviously doesn't care.
Sacrificed one of the great monsters in Doctor Who history for a bit of virtue signalling.
Yeah, I mean, that's a betrayal of the viewers. You know, Davros goes back to my childhood, and that's a long, long time, as you know.
What was William Hartnell like as the Doctor, Ken?
Yeah, well, you know, I'll let you know.
I've seen The Savages. William Hartnell as the Doctor was woke as fuck, and we love him for it.
Actually, I think I do remember William Hartnell. Because my parents banned me from watching Doctor Who because it was too frightening. They soon realised it wasn't all that frightening. But, you know, to suddenly say that Davros isn't in that strange, kind of cool little Dalek-y wheelchair, you know, it betrays generations of Doctor Who fans. Oh, why? Oh, because you can't associate disability with being...
Does he think that just, like, conceptually, like, in terms of just the premise, forget the actual subjective quality of the films themselves, does he actually think that the Star Wars prequels, like, conceptually, would betray Star Wars fans because they portrayed Darth Vader as Anakin Skywalker before his accident that caused him to wear the respirator suit and the black armor? Like, because that's fundamentally what they're taking issue with here. The idea that time happens linearly for some people, and people were born able-bodied and then got disabled later in life, and they're taking issue with the depiction of the able-bodiedness. I don't even know what point they're trying to make here. It could be the sleep. It could be the sleep deprivation, but I genuinely, I don't even think they know what they're talking about at this point.
Being evil. Why not?
Yeah, no one had associated it with being evil. I never even thought about it.
Nor had I, yeah.
Firstly, this is just a massive virtue signal. Oh, I never associated being disabled with negativity. You know, I never associated this. Oh, well, good for fucking you. You know, but, you know, we do live in a society where we are growing up with, like, these massive media ecosystems. So characters like Darth Vader, like Davros, like Blofeld, like Igor, you know, like all of these massive pop culture characters and these staples which use the iconography and the visual shorthand of being disabled, of being monstrous, of being unhuman, or whatever interpretation you want to, you know. Oh, I'm glad for fucking you, Ali, that you never associated those things, but maybe your brain did. You know, there's merit to, like, opposing those stereotypes or wanting to approach things in a different way. But like I said, this is just massive virtue signaling from Ali.
I saw this upright Davros tottering around, looking, just for use of one word, camp. And that's not what you want. As kids love being frightened. It should be a rite of passage that you hide behind the sofa watching Doctor Who. It
Indeed.
shouldn't be a rite of passage that you get lectures about.
The way he's acting like Davros being disabled means so much to him when he's the kind of guy to complain about actually having disabled people on television as to work. Oh yeah, 100%. If you were to like frame the idea of like, oh, we're going to cast some like disabled actors in this TV show or in this movie in order to help with representation, Ali and Kevin would be like some of the first people decrying that and getting incredibly angry about that idea. Like, because firstly, like these guys are conservatives. They will happily like vote for policies that will actively kill and hurt disabled people, and they will do it while actively they'll do it while laughing at you and like getting their knives and forks ready to drink your blood. You know, that's the type of people that these are. So the whole like, oh, it betrays generations of people. Oh, like I never associated disability with evil, when they categorically do, because they are conservative. So I don't buy the fake indignation. And we've been over clips of like Kevin before, and like he can't even like pretend to muster up the enthusiasm about it either.
About refugees and NHS funding.
Yeah, presumably,
because you can get that, frankly, on any other BBC programme.
So these space refugees,
such as, come on, Ali, you're the TV critic. Maybe you should name another example here.
were they actually sort of caught in a intergalactic migrant crisis then?
Exactly that, yeah.
It's so crazy.
It's
What?
staggering. I'm
Look,
surprised that the Daily Mail saying it enjoyed this.
I think they thought of the angle. They thought, oh, that'd be a good angle. And so they said to Christopher Stevens, hey, Chris, make it happen. But as I say, you're not the... I've seen other comments saying, what's he
I think that's projection from Kevin. Oh, this writer from the Daily Mail got his orders on high to have like an interesting and provocative angle, so write that even if you don't believe it. I think this is like massive projection here. You know, Kevin doesn't believe anything he's saying. He's a talk TV host. He's paid to be wrong all the time. Ali Ross as well, probably the same as well. You know, these two, he works for The Sun, he works for Talk TV. These are Rupert Murdoch outlets, you know, so they get their orders from on high. They know who's paying their bills.
talking about? It was, as somebody said, it's like a woke children's show. And that, lest we forget...
And by that definition of what Kevin's done, most children's shows are woke. Like, categorically. What is he even on about?
After all these years, Doctor Who is supposed to be a children's show. So my question to you, Ali, is how did it become this sort of vector for all this wokery, this kind of gender identity politics?
He's gone right back to, like, he went right back to gender identity. That's all he's got. He's like, he tried to think of something else, realized he had nothing, and then went back to gender identity. God, he has so little ammunition.
How did it become that?
Well, I think the whole BBC, the whole of the BBC's been consumed by this. We could take any programme that's currently on, pretty much, and say, well, look, it's happened here as well. The One Show, for instance. The One Show used to be offbeat, wacky, and a laugh, and now it's pretty much one solid lecture. Unless you're on to talk about race, sexism, refugees, mental health crisis, you probably won't get anywhere near the One Show anymore. It's a drag.
Yeah.
So it's not just Doctor Who.
Okay, so firstly, I've not really watched the One Show. It's not part of my regular rotation for TV. But the clips I have seen, you know, it seems to talk about a massive variety of things. But even if it was just talking about those issues, like migrant crisis and mental health, like what's wrong with talking about those things? What is the issue with talking about those things on a platform like the One Show? 1 second, let's stress test this theory. One. One. Here we go. Kiefer Sutherland and Vicky McClure join Alex Jones. Alex Jones? Okay, so what were they talking about on the latest episode of The One Show? We're stress testing this live. What is The One Show talking about?
According to the Child Bereavement Network, it's estimated that one parent dies every 20 minutes in the UK, making 127 newly bereaved children every day.
Death and bereavement are subjects that we deal.
Okay, so parent bereavement.
I cannot take credit for that. All I can take credit for was River Phoenix was a young guitar player, and he and I would run lines together.
I thought that was Kiefer Sutherland, but he's changed a lot in the past couple of years. I didn't recognize him at first. Kiefer Sutherland's new project. What's this? Careful the beep will have you. They're actually they're actually not as strict with the One Show.
The lush garden that she
What, a current affairs program talking about current affairs? How dare they? The audacity.
craves. I absolutely love designing and transforming tiny spaces just like this one.
Oh yeah, this is all about mental health and like migrant crisis stuff. We're transforming small spaces and creating like a little greenhouse outside. Oh, God's sake. Vicky McClure talking about her project. Okay, yeah, so it was like some more serious topics, but also like a bit of fluff as well. Okay, let's stress test this even further. What's the previous episode on?
Big darts playoff later this week. Fellow darts fan Joe Swash.
Okay, so they're talking about darts.
Animals and animal welfare issues associated with that.
While there are fabrics on the market claiming to be sustainable, many leather alternatives...
Okay, the fashion industry. Oh, is this more gardens?
Sarah Tacky lives in a ground floor flat in Bristol with a small fenced off area outside her living room door. She finds getting out and about difficult, so this space is a much needed lifeline.
So we've got 2 episodes in a row talking about like outdoor garden spaces, but to be fair, the weather's great. It's going to be like it's going to be a thing.
Oh, works out pretty well. Good timing.
Well, I was telling Deborah
that guy
on the way.
That guy from Shaun of the Dead.
Very industrious.
Rafe Spall
is very good with her babysitting, and so I won't.
They're
be
promoting his project. Promoting Dragon's Den, back to darts. Yeah, so okay, we're currently 2 episodes deep into this one show marathon, and we've not seen a single migrant.
No, we're going to practice for our concert tonight. Oh, it's a journey that I'm going on, and I feel like I'm learning how to.
Okay, so a musical group,
To rehearse for a forthcoming public concert.
An elderly musical group, very cool. Dominic West, Callum Scott Howells, Keane, and Eurovision winner Nemo are there. Yeah, so Keane are talking about their stuff.
300 foot inland.
Okay, saving a storm tower. So yeah, we've watched 3 episodes of the one show, and it's not remotely what Ali Ross is describing here. Obviously, maybe they have done a few segments on mental health and a few segments on migrants and stuff, but trying to paint it as like wall-to-wall wokery is just it's completely absurd. Or Ali Ross's barometer for what constitutes as woke is so out of whack that it basically encapsulates every single topic ever, because his brain is absolute mush, because he's invested in this narrative to such an extent that it has broken his brain. But once again, we're on what we mentioned before. He's choosing his marks. People who don't watch the one show or don't really engage with much media or culture outside of these reactionary circle jerks and these echo chambers, because he's fully aware he's on an echo chamber show. For crying out loud, he is being interviewed by somebody, Kevin O'Sullivan, who has the same boss as him. Talk TV and The Sun are Rupert Murdoch operations. This is obviously a circle jerk echo chamber.
This is the whole cut and paste culture that's going on at the BBC, which is the reason why its figures are dropping in so many different areas.
I mean, it really is. God knows what's happening to the BBC, and God knows what's happening to Doctor Who. Just before you go, the Eurovision Song Contest, I know you always enjoy it, but I don't suppose you enjoyed it that much this year. If they don't get these politics out of it, this anti-Semitism, this pro-Palestine nonsense, if they don't get it out of the tournament next year, it's finished, isn't it, Eurovision?
Yeah.
Okay, so lot to unpack there. So apparently being pro-Palestinian is inherent with anti-Semitism, because that in and of, what Kevin has basically said there in and of itself is massively anti-Semitic, because it implies that in order to be like Jewish, being inherently Jewish is committing genocide, is committing war crimes, is committing unspeakable barbarism in the name of your religion. Like that in and of itself is anti-Semitic. So basically Kevin is saying that anti-Semitism is not wanting innocent children to brutally be killed in the Middle East, which is Kevin's insane moral, like that's his insane moral compass.
I enjoyed it in as much as for the first time ever, I voted 20 times for Israel. And for the 2 minutes that Israel was leading that competition, my heart sang.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, there you go.
Yeah.
I'm Ali Ross. I think that you should get politics out of the BBC. I think this wokery and this politic posturing and Doctor Who and the One Show is terrible and bad. By the way, I don't care about Eurovision, but I was massively politically invested in Israel doing well, so I voted 20 times for them. The hypocrisy is so blatant. Like, it's the idea that they don't care about politics and media and subtext and messaging media unless it's like they want it to just be exclusively their message. messaging, their politics, their media. That's all. They just want an echo chamber. Ali Ross, unironically, just wants a fucking safe space for him and his conservative friends to just circle jerk each other and talk about how wrong the world is while pretending to be activists. That's all he wants to do.
If you were to watch the BBC News, read a lot of news or a lot of other newspapers, you might think that this pro-Palestinian cause is some great popular uprising. It's not. They just make the most noise.
Yeah, yeah. And the people...
8% of Brits think that there shouldn't be an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. Single-digit percentage points in this country supports what Israel is doing. Single digits. 92% are either undecided or want an immediate ceasefire. So for him to claim that it's just a very loud minority of people is a fucking lie, but also the tenacity of Ali Ross to be on a Talk TV interview who gets such a small audience in comparison to the wider population, to the extent where Talk TV is it can no longer afford to be a broadcast channel. It's now just a YouTube channel with a budget. To claim that he is actually speaking for the majority is absolutely fucking galling.
Palestinian cause is some great popular uprising. It's not. They just make the most noise.
Yeah, yeah.
Says Ali Ross, who was given a Murdoch paycheck to talk about these issues that don't make any sense with somebody else on a YouTube channel funded also by Rupert Murdoch in an echo chamber. He must know deep within his chromosomes that this is just such a pitiful position for him to hold, which is probably why he's doing this. Like he enjoys the cuckoldry.
And the people
Israel has a lot of friends and a lot of people who love that country and think that 20-year-old girl who got up there in the face of death threats and intimidation, she is a damn hero.
Yeah, Aidan Golland, here's to her, and here's to the great British public, including you, Ali, who, after the various national professional judges hated Israel, 52 points between them.
I would love to watch you have an actual conversation with these two and see how they try and take you down. Well, I've emailed Talk TV before. There was somebody on Twitter who was like, "Oh, we want to talk to a Doctor Who fan about how woke the show has gotten," and I put myself forward for it, but they never replied. You know, I would more than gladly talk on the platform, but I don't think they will, because like I said, they want an echo chamber. They just want like a circle jerk. There's a reason why they brought Ali Ross on and not that Daily Mail writer whoever he was who did the positive review of the season opener, because they just want a circle jerk here. They basically, the idea is that they want the supposed conservative audience watching at home to be like, everyone else is going mad, but these people on the TV, they're all in agreement. You know, you can trust them. They're all in agreement. Everybody else is lying to you. Like I said, it's the Nigerian print scam. They're deliberately seeking out marks because they hate you, because they think so little of their audience that they'll just lie to them all the time because they know that you'll buy it up because they hate you.
British public gave them, or the public around Europe gave her 333 points, and vaulting her to number 5 in the contest over that pro-Palestinian fanatic from Ireland, Bambi Thug.
And it's worth pointing out that the Irish people also gave 10 marks to Israel.
Yeah.
So she is not part of any great movement in Ireland as well. I know
Ireland's jury vote, 12 points to Switzerland, 10 points to Sweden, and none to Israel. The vote from the Irish public gave 12 points to Croatia and 10 to Israel. But yeah, it was because of what this guy said, because he voted like 20 times for Israel out of political spite. Like, not out of any sort of like respect for the competition itself as like an entertainment show or as a song show. He did it for political brownie points, because he wants to be an activist. He is unironically being an armchair activist, voting 20 times for Israel on the Eurovision Song Contest and thinking that that's activism. It's like, you know, and he's here trying to criticize Chris Chibnall and ignoring Mallory Blackman for writing an episode based on Rosa Parks, thinking, oh, they just want to be radical activists, when he's here thinking, I voted for Israel 20 times. Absolute spineless worm.
Irish people's sympathies were.
Well, keep politics out of your vision. Yeah, keep politics out of your vision. But by the way, I will vote for this country 20 times because I believe in their political ambitions.
Saturday.
Yeah, and you're right. Eden Gollan is a hero. Good for her.
They're not even talking about Doctor Who anymore. What a garbage talk show. Well, to be fair, this isn't about Doctor Who. This is just complaining about too many women in TV, too many black people in TV, too many queer people in TV. The BBC's been overtaken by some cabal or whatever. Like it's never just about Doctor Who. They're using Doctor Who as the vessel to get across their terrible opinions.
And as you say, Ali, some of us still stand with Israel. Good to talk to you, mate. Come on again soon. I'm going to be ringing you. Watch out. Ali Ross, the brilliant TV critic.
The brilliant TV critic who clearly doesn't watch any fucking TV. Anyway, I don't really know why people wanted me to watch that specific clip, that specific segment. I mean, we got some material out of it, but yeah, I don't know what about that particular clip made everybody en masse get into my DMs and my emails and be like, hey, you should totally talk about this clip.
Hi, Violetta, are you okay?
I'm always okay.
Oh,
Are
good.
you?
No, I'm all right. Yeah, why'd you ask? No, I'm fine. Violetta, do you watch
I'll
Doctor
tell you
Who?
something. I have made a bet.
Do you watch
with
Doctor
a
Who,
friend of
Violetta?
mine.
Were you upset when Adric died?
Pardon?
It doesn't matter. Back to you, Andre. Kenny London is a born-again Christian.
Were you upset when Adric died? Just saying that to a complete stranger on the phone who's called in to talk TV. I might use that as an icebreaker the next time I'm in a conversation with a bunch of strangers. Were you sad when Adric died? Mikey, complete cojones.